everyone. So welcome to the first episode of The Healthy Pod, powered by Health Collective. I'm your host, Nicole Pekerman, and I cannot tell you how excited I am to do this. I'm also a little bit scared because it's been something I've wanted to do for so long, but to be honest with you, I've been holding myself back, and I had a bit of an aha moment a little bit ago, and I was like, you know what, I love chatting with people, I love learning from people, so I'm going to do it. So bear with me as we go through our first episode. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about why the Healthy Pod. So for my probably last couple decades in life, I've been really, really focused on health and wellness and fitness. And at the beginning of my journey, it was really more about trying to be skinny. And the older I got, the more I started to realize that this is really about health and longevity, and looking good equals feeling good as well from the inside out. So I wanted to take you a little bit through my journey of how I started on this health and wellness journey, how I started a long, long time ago, and where I am today. And then I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the podcast, what you're going to see on the podcast, and some of my basic philosophies. So in terms of my background, where I started, so a long, long time ago, I started as a little baby in dance, loved dance so much, and was pretty good at it. I trained in a studio in Toronto, which is where I was born. And my teacher actually taught Baryshnikov. She was like a very strict Russian woman, and she always said I had great feet and I had really, strong jumps. So I started to dance, and then it went from 1 to 2 days a week, and then it went all the way to 5 or 6 days a week. So I was dancing a lot, and I really wanted to go competitive, but unfortunately my parents had different plans for me. They said I needed to kind of quit dance cold turkey and really focus on my studies. I come from a very traditional Russian Jewish background, where, I was supposed to be a doctor or a lawyer or, an accountant. I am none of those things, but I think I, really wanted to focus on where I find most joy, and I find most joy in being a marketer, being in business, and being in health and wellness. So here I am. Anyways, so as I was dancing, I would eat anything I wanted, no problem. But then when my parents made me quit, I kept eating like I was dancing. I would eat like bags of chips and pizza, and I had no clue about nutrition, nothing. And we were a very meat and potatoes household. We were, I was allowed fast food whenever. My mom would give me like chocolate Pop-Tarts for breakfast. Yay, that was good. But I had no idea about nutrition, and so I stopped dancing. I stopped being active at 15, and I really put my nose in the books. I was quite studious. I was a good student, so I would study all the time, but I would just eat junk and eat a lot of it. And before I knew it, I had gained weight. I had not realized it at all. It took my dad kind of very gently nudging me and saying like, hey, Nick, it looks like you've gained, a little weight. You're looking a little, not like yourself. And so after that conversation with my dad, I was like, what are you talking about? And then I went upstairs into my room and I looked in the mirror and I was like, oh my God, what happened? Like I was this ballerina dancer, dancing in point shoes and tutus, and, always critiqued for my body and, suck in that stomach and point those toes and you got to have the right form. And then I looked at myself and I didn't recognize myself. So I started to go on this journey of health and wellness at 15. So I am 40 now, and so it's been a long journey into this area of understanding nutrition, understanding my body, understanding fitness. So what did I do? I went to Weight Watchers with my mom. She had to sign off because I was still a minor. And I started to learn about the traditional Weight Watchers point system and nutrition and what was good for you and what was not good for you. And, I started to learn that there was more than meat and potatoes to the world. So, fruits and veggies. And I started to understand why Weight Watchers had points allocated to certain foods. And so that was the very beginning. I started to lose weight very slowly in a very healthy way. I started to exercise. It started with, 3 days a week. At the time, cardio was the thing. I would wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I've always been, someone who has a lot of drive for results and someone who is kind of like a workaholic. So I would wake up at 5 a.m. I would study for school, and then before school, I would go to the gym, and then I would get to school, and, I would study all the time and work out all the time and eat healthy, and slowly the weight just started to come off. As I got to university, that all kind of kept going. And then I, got into my first serious relationship with my boyfriend, now husband. Shout out Mike. And, as we started dating, I started to kind of find myself wanting to be thinner and thinner and thinner. It was really, really popular back then. So I got into this probably really disordered, negative eating world. Eating as little as possible, eating as few calories as I could. And around that time, my dad had got sick, and he actually passed away of cancer when I was 20. So through the journey of kind of discovering myself, understanding things about nutrition, and then really trying to control myself, because that's all I could control in a little bit of a crazy situation, I got into this, really bad state of disordered eating. It was not until I got my first job out of university that saved me. And so in terms of what I studied, I went to business school. I got my business degrees at the Schulich School of Business, for those of you who know it. And all I wanted to do was be a marketer. I was always on this health kick. I was healthy and losing weight and learning about food, but it got to a negative place, and I was really, really focused on marketing. My first job was at Kraft. So for those of you who know, Kraft cheese, Kraft dressings, DiGiorno pizza, all the products, all the things, Cool Whip, Baker's, chocolate, all this kind of stuff. At the time, they had Toblerone and Oreo and Chips Ahoy. So me, this person who was, really conscientious about health and wellness, suddenly was thrown into a career full of food that's not really great for you. And so I say that job saved me, because my first role at Kraft was product assistant on innovation for pizza. And by the time I got through university into my first day of work, I hadn't had pizza or bread in 5 years, 6 years. So I get to work, and one of my first days on the job, I'm told to, I was on DiGiorno pizza, developing innovations for it, developing marketing for it, and I'm told to order delivery, because our slogan was, it's not delivery, it's DiGiorno, from every single pizza place in town. And my next job was to taste all of it. And you can only imagine the things that are going through my mind as I'm like this healthy person, trying to, limit calories and be thin. And then all I have is 50 pizzas on the table for me to taste and compare them to my product. So I say that job saved me, because I started to revisit and relearn what it was like to have a healthy relationship with food. So even though I was very, very healthy and conscientious, always working out, always, I started to reintroduce foods that were kind of banned from my subconscious through my work. So I started to taste the pizza. I worked on Blue Box or mac and cheese, or in Canada it was called Kraft Dinner. I worked on peanut butter. I worked on cream cheese. I was the Philly Angel for lots of time before my first maternity leave with my daughter. And I really loved what I did. But the more that I got into it, the more I realized that I wasn't sure that food marketing, particularly in consumer packaged goods, was the thing for me. Simply because I really wanted to have my job tied to something that I really believe in when it comes to nutrition and health and wellness. One of the triggering things that happened to me at work was, before I went on my mat leave, I was on Philly, and the team was looking to change the ingredient line. And at the time, the ingredient line was really pure, really clean. It was, cream and cheese, very simple ingredients. And in order to make more margin, we were asked to change it to modified milk ingredients. And it was something that I was just so vehemently against. So while I was at work before mat leave, they did not change it, because every recommendation I had was to keep it pure. And then the second I left and someone else kind of came in and started to manage the brand, they changed it to modified milk ingredients. And for me, that was kind of this light bulb moment of like, I'm not sure this is exactly what I want to do. And it's really interesting because as I went in my career, I stayed at Kraft for 12 years. I really started to associate myself as like Nicole, the marketer, Nicole, the digital marketer. I started to be really, really good at driving consumer insights, creating new campaigns, and I stayed in marketing for 20 years, most of which was in food because of fear. I started to really associate myself as this marketer rather than someone who was really, really passionate about health and wellness and fitness. I moved on to several different companies. I was a VP marketing at Tim Hortons, which is like the Dunkin' of Canada, at RBI. And that was kind of my last food job. And I had another light bulb moment where I was really upset. It was during COVID. I wasn't agreeing with some of the things that were kind of going on at work. It was a really tough work environment. And I was crying, and I had already had my son by that time. And I was crying in the basement. And my son's Marky, he said to me, why are you crying? And I was kind of like, well, having a bit of a tough time at work. And he was like, Mama, wouldn't it be so cool if you could just like run on the treadmill and work out and like, do what you love? And I was like, oh my God, like even my kid sees it. And at that time he was like, 5? So I was like, oh, if my child sees that I'm unhappy, then, it's time to make a change. So there was a few different evolutions of how I went into a healthier kind of lifestyle of work. I did end up going into marketing at one of the top gyms in the world globally as their VP of marketing. And I really, really loved it. But there was still kind of something holding me back in terms of the freedom to kind of really practice what I preach, really impact lives. And, there was a certain satisfaction that I'd always gotten when I would mentor people or, lead people on my teams. And it was just this like incredible personal connection. And as I grew these personal connections, it would go above and beyond work or marketing or assignments, and it would go to personal. And there were several people throughout my career where, I really started working with them on their health, their wellness, their nutrition, as I got my nutrition degree during that time as well. And when they started to learn and really adjust their lifestyle, they would light up, and that would make me so happy. So for me, as I kind of had several different light bulb moments leading me into this health and wellness space, I thought to myself, you know what, rather than kind of being stuck in corporate America, I felt really stuck. Let me do something that really can change some lives, and at the same time, just really, really fulfill me. I was so scared for so long. I was in corporate for 20 years, and I was chatting with an old colleague of mine, and he said to me, okay, so now you're, VP marketing, you're CMO, you've reached the summit of what you wanted to do, now what? And honestly, I didn't know. I was like, I don't know now what, because, I've had these incredible campaigns, and, I've had so much fun, and I've learned so much along the way, and I've met these incredible people, but I'm still not all the way satisfied. But I was so scared to leave the industry that I'd built a name in. So it took a lot of, courage to step away from that, and a lot of kind of negative talk of like, what am I worth if I'm not Nicole the marketer? But then, the more I started to think about it, the more I started to think inward about what I could do. And roughly around that time, my son was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. And for me, that broke me. So I felt like I couldn't, work in corporate and kind of not be my truest self there when I needed to kind of give my full self to my family, to my son, and to really learning more about how to manage type 1 diabetes. And that's kind of when I started really learning about, hormones and health and mental well-being and physical well-being. And I took it much farther than I had ever taken it before. And that's when I started to think, well, maybe there's a way that I can impact more people with everything that I've learned about hormones and health and digestion and wellness. that goes above and beyond just kind of like eating less calories and working out more. So I took several different courses. I started to learn about hormones and different peptide therapies. And then I took several courses in coaching, and I thought, you know what, with all of this information and the way I believe that I can impact lives, I'm going to start Health Collective, which is exactly what I did. So in that time, I started working with patients one-on-one. I got some physicians on board if patients needed to be treated with medical weight loss medication. And that's kind of how Health Collective began. And the more I would talk to patients and impact their lives, the more I felt like I had finally found my happy place in terms of what it is that I'm meant to do. And so whenever I would speak about Health Collective or health and wellness in general, for me, again, like I would light up. I always had a knack for kind of the gift of gab and chatting with people. And the more I would chat with people and help them through their journeys, the more satisfied I felt. And the more I felt like I was bringing to the table, which kind of brings me to this podcast, because there are certain things that I can certainly share, but I am so excited to bring on people that we can all learn from together. And I'm so excited to answer your questions. What do you want to know about health, wellness, fitness, mentally, spiritually, physically? There is so much going on in our world right now when it comes to health and wellness. And there's so much education about topics that we had never really talked about before. Menopause is a huge conversation. And I really started to understand a shift when I turned 40. I mean, when I was younger, I was just go, go, go. I never stretched before a workout. I would push myself to the brink. It didn't matter. I was so focused on, when I was younger, for sure, being skinny, or when I had my babies, dropping the baby weight. I didn't concern myself with longevity or my muscles or anything like that. And the older I got, the more I started to understand that there's this incredible connection with what we eat and nutrition and how we feed our mind as well and how we think. So I think there's, this incredible opportunity to start these dialogues and to start these conversations because they can impact us all. And the more people that I can connect with and I can impact, I think the better, right? So in terms of me, turning 40 was that precipice of me trying to evolve myself and better myself in terms of how I approach my life and my health. And so for me, it was really about incorporating different practices like mindfulness and like journaling and like meditation and like gratitude and affirmation practices. And so I want to kind of ensure that we talk about the full spectrum of everything that can impact our happiness and our lives. And so for me, some of my basic principles in terms of how I connect with people, particularly my clients, it's really about what I talk about as LMNOP. So L is listen to your body. I'm really a big fan of intuitive eating, intuitive movement, really intuitive medical care. You really need to become as in tune with your body and with yourself and with your mind as possible. I have so many people who I start working with and they say, I know this is so bad. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day, but I don't eat breakfast. And so, they're almost afraid that I'm going to judge them, but I don't judge. For me, what I say is, if your body and your intuition is that you don't need breakfast or you don't need nourishment in that moment, that's okay. So for me, that is the kind of intuition and intuitive eating that I often talk about. So it's really, really important not to judge and not to, be so acclimatized to societal norms to say, oh my gosh, we have to eat, 3 meals a day and, a few snacks and it has to be X, Y, and Z. It's really not about that. So listen to your body. The second thing, and I believe this with every part of my soul, is move every day. Movement is medicine. So I am like a Peloton fanatic. As a side note, I think I have like year to date over 22,000 minutes of working out with the Peloton app this year alone. So I'm a Peloton fanatic. And I know a lot of the instructors say movement is medicine. I truly feel like that's a philosophy for me, and that's a philosophy I really try and share with people that I chat with. From a mental perspective and a physical perspective, it is so massive. So I know that I can be, a little bit hardcore. I work out every single day and sometimes multiple times a day. And, I often tell the story of, don't necessarily do what I do, but this is how passionate I am about the feeling of movement. I've worked out every day. I think the last day I didn't work out was the day I gave birth to my son. He's 11. And so I gave birth, and then the very next day I went out for my first run. Not saying anyone should do that. That is not medically something that should be done, but that's how I needed to move my body. And when I ran for the first time after the baby, I felt free. I felt like myself again. And I just wanted to start, a little bit my postpartum journey with that feeling of freedom. So for me, movement every day, no matter what your body calls for, is really, really important. So the N is having a nourish your body mindset. So there is food for pleasure and there's food for nourishment. And when I was at my kind of lowest point from my, disordered eating days, I ate as little as I could, and there was no nourishment and there was no enjoyment. And so I feel like over time, I've really started to focus on balancing the two. And first and foremost, nourishing my body with what it needs to efficiently and effectively survive. And the longevity piece is critically important. So I know there's this massive conversation about protein going on Instagram and TikTok, and anywhere that you look, it's protein, but it really is critically important to think about as you approach food, how is this going to nourish my body? And how is it going to nourish my soul? So nourishing your body is, making sure that the food nourishes you, feeds your muscles, feeds your body and your brain, so that you can function. But nourishing your soul is eating for pleasure. So, while I didn't do this for many, many years, anyone who knows me will tell you, like, if I go out for a beautiful dinner, I will enjoy a lovely drink, or I will enjoy a really indulgent dessert, and that's okay. So my philosophy on that is really 80-20. 80% of the time, try to eat well, try to nourish your body, and conscientiously choose foods that will feed your body well while also being delicious. And then, 20% of the time, just have fun and enjoy life, because what is life without joy, right? In terms of the O, it's open your mind for growth. So for me, I started to go down this road, and many of us do it, of, we go to sleep, we wake up, first thing we do is we take our phone, we start scrolling, and like it's the doom scrolling. And I started to feel like I just wasn't good enough. I was like, I'm terrible at this. I'm not big enough for that. I don't have this many followers. I haven't done a reel in 2 days, or whatever it is. And, to me, that was just debilitating in terms of my mindset. So instead of doing that, I shifted my mindset into something that was going to help me build myself, build my brain, build my confidence. So instead of the doom scrolling, I start my day with gratitude, being thankful for, waking up again, for, having my beautiful family, our health, our home, all that kind of stuff. And it's a pretty solid, regular practice. And then I like to meditate. I like to say affirmations. As we drive to school, we often say affirmations in the car. And then I really like to learn something new. So every so often I will, beyond just kind of reading books for kind of opening my mind and learning new things, I'll take, courses. I highly recommend any Jim Quick course. Shout out to Jim Quick. So I just finished his speed reading course, and I loved it so much that I went on to do his memory course. And so for me, waking up in the morning and looking forward to learning something new and bettering myself made me feel so much better and feel like I could accomplish so much more. So making sure that you make time in your life for opening your mind for growth and having that growth mindset is so critically important. So that's something that is one of my basic philosophies also that I try and share with anyone that I work with. And the most important, especially as moms, is try, and it's a big try, to prioritize filling your cup without guilt. So that's the underlying thing, because you'll obviously be better if you fill your cup first so that you can fill everyone else's cup as well, period. And so when I first had kids, I felt this shame and guilt for wanting to work out. And I would beg my husband as if he was like a babysitter, not their actual dad, to say like, oh my God, babe, is it okay? Like 30 minutes is all I need. Are you sure it's okay? And he's the most supportive husband ever. And he would just always be like, it's fine. Just, do what you got to do. And so now my kids are 14 and 11, and I'm so happy that I get the opportunity to fill my cup every day without guilt, because my kids now know that I'm a better mom if I do work out and if I do, feed my mind, body, and soul the right way. And, I love that my daughter is now on the track team, and she's kind of showing or, starting to learn about her journey of health and wellness and healthy eating. And that's something that we do so much in our home. So, for me, filling your cup is also teaching your children that it's okay to care for yourself and love yourself so that you can kind of be there for everyone who needs you. So that is kind of a little bit about my background story, my philosophies, and I so look forward to kind of really unraveling different topics. I'm definitely looking forward to the next couple of weeks where I talk about my own personal philosophies around some of the hottest topics in health and wellness, like these medical weight loss medications like tirzepatide, semaglutide, Ozempic, and Zepbound, and all that kind of stuff. I want to ensure that we really unravel this topic because there are so many divided opinions. So I want to ensure that I hear from you guys and understand what your questions are so that I can answer them appropriately for as much as I know. I'm very much looking forward to chatting with you about my fitness philosophies as well. Understanding what is a beginner, intermediate, advanced workout kind of look like. And sometimes it just looks like just having fun. For me, I come from a dance background. I love dance. It makes me feel free and it's so much fun. So whenever I see a random pop-up dance class, like I go and I take it because movement is medicine, but if you love it, if you love what you're doing, it's not hard work. It's not something that you dread. So definitely want to talk a little bit about that. And of course, I'm really excited to have different guests on the podcast, different experts. And I really want to share with you the different things that I try. I have this whole supplement regimen. I try all these different workouts. I try all of these different contraptions. Mike is always like, another contraption, another thing that you're buying. My latest thing is I really love wearing my weighted vest as I go for walks. I think it definitely develops strength, and it's amazing for women over 35, over 40 who do want to kind of maintain that strength, but also get their steps in. So every time I look up, I have a new contraption or a new something that I add to my kind of health and wellness repertoire. So I can't wait to share all of that with you and really answer any questions that you might have about them. And then I'm really excited to just connect with the collective. There are so many people that, I hear from. A couple of examples that come to mind is one of my clients' patients. She shared with me that for the first time in 6 years, she's no longer pre-diabetic because of the work that we've done. So forgetting about, the weight loss, which was the primary reason she ended up coming to me, her health improvement and her vitality is completely different. Her body and her metabolism is completely different. So, helping people kind of see that they can improve so many factors in their life is so critically important. I have another patient who, I worked with, and then she was kind of done her program with me, and she just sent me a recent text, and she said, for the first time, I think since high school, I'm now below 150 pounds. And that was just this like mental milestone for her. And she sent me this picture of her scale. And then she said, now I'm feeling so much more confident. I might actually put on a bikini for like my next vacation. And I was just like, wow, not only, are we talking about weight loss, we're talking about confidence. We're talking about life-changing approaches to health habits and lifestyle changes. So it is so critically important to kind of see that full picture. And I so look forward to sharing that with you. And as we go along, I definitely want to hear your feedback along the way. So for now, I'm kind of wrapping up episode 1. I hope you guys will follow along on the journey for the Healthy Pod. And please definitely subscribe and listen to wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple, or anywhere you download your podcasts.